おはようございます。こんにちは、こんばんは. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Langai Sai, or Sathya, as some of you might know me. And today, we are going through the fourth chapter of the Genki textbook series. If this is your first time, viewing, welcome. If you navigate to my Twitch page, I've saved the rest of the videos in this series, the Genki textbook series and workbook series, walkthroughs, as a collection. And you're welcome to view them, of course. But yeah, without further ado, he says, pausing, I'd like to jump right in to Genki Chapter 4. So in Genki, every textbook begins with a dialogue, a sample dialogue. I paid attention for once, feel special. I don't know how much a stranger's validation means, but welcome anyway. Oh brother mine. So, like I said, every textbook chapter in Genki begins with a sample dialogue. And if you guys are as, emotionally invested in the love story between Mary and Takashi as I am, totally, then you should rejoice, because this is the chapter in which they have their first date. But for now, the dialogue is a little bit too advanced for us. So we'll first cover the contents of the lesson, and then with those tools, with that knowledge, we'll be able to come back and read this and hopefully understand it. And of course the English translation is also provided. So yeah, let's go over the vocabulary. Arubaito. Arubaito means part-time job, as is written, right? Funnily enough, most katakana words come from English. That's probably not true. I don't actually have any data to back that up, but I suspect, anecdotally, most katakana words, borrowed words, loan words come from English. This one is not one of those. This is actually from German. And I don't speak German, so forgive me for this pronunciation, but Arbeit means work, like profession work, the same word that would be shigoto in Japanese. But arubaito means part-time job. So for those German speakers / German native speakers, please don't be confused when you see this. It does not mean full-time occupation, but rather just part-time work. Cool. 次はね、買い物means shopping. They provide the kanji for us, which is kind of insane because surely they can't expect people using this textbook series to know this kanji already. But it's nice that they provide it. So this kai is the kanji for to buy, and the verb kau, and kai is the derivative form of that. And then this second one means basically thing, mono. There's other kanji that also means thingy, but basically you can think of it as kaimono is shopping, things that are bought. But in Japanese they use kaimono like, how do I put this? In the last chapter we learned the verb suru, which means to do, right? And I think I explained in that VOD, in that stream, that Japanese takes nouns and then adds the verb suru to them to being the action of to do the noun. Similarly, in English we use like, like message me that, or like Facebook message me that, or DM me this. DM is direct message, which is not, I guess it can be used as a verb, but generally it's a noun, right? And Facebook is definitely a noun, but we use it as a verb. Similarly, in Japanese you can use nouns, some nouns, and attach the verb suru, which is like a catch-all verb, to do, to play, to, stuff like that. And it becomes the version of doing that thing. So, 買い物をする, 買い物をする, or 買い物する, is to do shopping. But yeah. And then 暮らす is a borrowed word. Sounds like class. Smells like class. Probably is class. So it is class. And this is like classroom class, not like, social status class. あなた is a pronoun, right? It means you. And it's generally dropped. So like just like watashi is normally dropped in a sentence that doesn't need it because it's implied. Anata is also dropped in fact, and I have mentioned this before, but just to reiterate, if you overuse anata, even if you feel like you're being specific, it can actually come across as rude. Um, so don't. It's good to know this word, of course, but don't overuse this as you. Isu, chair. Inu, dog. Omiyage, omiyage is a souvenir, and to add a little bit of supplemental knowledge to this, omiyage is souvenir, and of course we get souvenirs when we visit foreign lands and we bring back presents, omiyage, for our friends, right? But in Japanese, omiyage culture is like very above and beyond, I'd say, what it is to at least me as an American, in a lot of Western countries. So omiyage, it's like Japan's not a very big country, and it has like, I don't know, like 47 prefectures, municipalities, so on and so forth. And each one of them is known for something. So generally, when you think of a souvenir, you don't really think like, oh, I went down the street and I got a souvenir, right? It's too local. Similarly, if I go to a different state that isn't like New York or California or Texas, like if I go to Memphis, Tennessee, and I wouldn't really bring back souvenirs from Memphis, Tennessee, right? Because it's relatively localized. It's not a big enough distance to warrant a souvenir. However, in Japan, that's not the case. If you go to like a semi-far distant, area, you bring back something for your coworkers, for your friends. So that's like omiyage culture. Kodomo. Kodomo means child. Child or children. Remember, Japanese doesn't have plurality in the same way that English does, but konban, chiga, sorry, I misread that. Gohan. And so we see this word as rice or meal. We see this word in previous vocab lists in previous chapters, like asagohan, bangohan, hirugohan. And I think I did say that it's kind of an amalgamation of the word asa, which is morning, plus gohan. Asagohan means morning meal equals breakfast, right? So it's interesting that they introduced the word gohan after the word asagohan, but basically it's meal. And the reason this is rice is that it's actually the word for cooked rice is gohan. And this word, I bet, shatters a lot of illusions for when you listen to Dragon Ball or watch Dragon Ball Z. Gohan, yeah, it's just rice or cooked meal. And like, of course, if you use different kanji that is pronounced the same and has different meaning, of course you can use that as well. But like gohan and like every name in freaking Boruto, like sarada and stuff, it's just various food items. Dragon Ball, yeah, exactly. Gohan, Goku, yeah, Dragon Ball. Sorry, that's right, yo-yo. And like, what's another ridiculous one? Of course, Ichigo means strawberry, right, from Bleach. So it's like shocking how, not derivative, but like so many foods can be used for names. I don't watch Dragon Ball. Well, you should. It was actually really great. I actually read it, and I definitely prefer the manga over the anime. But like, they're both great, I think. Although it's been a while. All right. Shashin. Burama. What? Buruma. Oh, Buruma. Boomer? Not quite. But yeah, shashin, picture, photograph. Tsukue is desk. I don't actually even hear this very often. It's a very legitimate word, obviously, but like, you'd think that the word desk would come up more often than it does in life, but it didn't. Tegami is a letter. Not a letter of the alphabet, but like a handwritten letter. It doesn't have to be handwritten, but this is the kanji for hand, and this is paper. So hand paper is a letter. Who knows? Buruma. Oh! got it. Buruma from... Sorry, yeah, from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Yeah. Very good. Nickel. Cat. Pun. Bread. I don't even know where this pun comes from. It's the same word for bread as in Spanish and Portuguese, and probably Latin, but hito, person. Meru, email. Yeah, so if you hear meru and meruado, is another borrowed word, but it's actually a shortened one. Here's a fun digression. Japanese takes borrowed words and then shortens them to make them easier to say. So like convenience store becomes konbini, which is a convenience store, becomes konbini. Mail address becomes mailado, and then mail, which is email. So mail address becomes email, and like it's just incredible. And there's a lot more examples than the ones I gave, but like, oh, this is a famous one. Pocket Monster becomes Pokemon. Pocket Monster becomes Pokemon, right? So yeah, meru is actually email and not mail, like snail mail. Places. Otera. Otera is a temple. Koen, park. Super. Oh, here's another example. Super is supermarket. We would never call a supermarket a super in English. It sounds ridiculous. Or a department store, we wouldn't call it a depart. Right? But supermarket, department store becomes departo, super. Which is super convenient. Basute is a bus stop, but only half of it is written in katakana and the other half is written in hiragana, which is interesting. Byoin. Pornography becomes porno. Yep. Great. Can't post this in the mature I have to literally clip this up. This is so much effort, Yo-Yo. You're making me cry. Actually, no, I don't, because I haven't put this on this series on YouTube, so it's fine. Yeah, but you can also say the elongated form. Very good, Yo-Yo. So byoin. This one's kind of a troll because byoin means hospital, but byoin means hospital, but byoin can be hair salon. Wait, let me look this up, guys. I don't want to be a heretic. Hair salon is byoin. Of course they say salon, but like byoin. Oh, is it not? What am I thinking of? Oh, beauty salon, maybe. Yeah, because B is me. Okay, sorry. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Sorry, it took me so long, chat. Don't really use this word as much, but so byoin means beauty parlor, beauty salon, hairdressing salon, but byoin. So do you guys see the difference between these two? Let's see. How do I do this? Okay. Nope. Okay, perfect. So in this one, it's byo, like BYO, byo. And this is also BYO, but this is it only makes sense in hiragana. The romaji won't actually help me explain this, but byo versus bio. Byo versus bio. So this is byoin, and this is byoin. If you can't hear the difference, don't worry, me neither. Just kidding. I can, but like it's pretty hard. And that's where it becomes fully context based. But thanks, Japanese, for this. That, like, take me to the hospital can, if you missay it, and if there's a freaking beauty parlor nearby, they can actually take you to a beauty parlor instead when you need a hospital. Provided you're not like bleeding or clearly in need of a hospital. It's very troll. Thanks, Japanese. Yeah, heretic thong. Yes, sensei. Azas. Okay, hoteru. Hoteru is hotel, right? Nothing too fancy about this. Just ask what happened when you hear it. Hear what? It would make things clearer. Yeah, right. No, for sure. If you're the one on the receiving end, which is to say, if you're listening to someone say byoin versus byoin, then you could ask for clarification or like ask for like further instruction if you're the taxi driver. I don't know if you want to be a taxi driver in Japan. But yeah. So the next word is honya. Honya means bookstore. And this is interesting too, because remember how we had nani nani or honyarara, sai, or ji, or any other like suffix in Japanese? Not any of them, but in chapter 1. And those were like the suffixes related to like time or age or time and age I think were the ones that we had, but there's a lot of them, and this is one of them. So if you put something before ya, this second syllable is pronounced, or the second kanji can be pronounced ya, and it's generally a noun. It becomes the store that sells that thing. So honya is like bookstore. And if you had like I don't know, a store that only sold zashi, like magazines, you could probably say zashiya and get away with it too. Kareya is one that's actually used in Japanese. So if you say like dokoka no kareya-san deshita, like it was some curry place somewhere, like curry, and then store or suffix becomes curry store. So yeah. Machi, town, city, machi. Restaurant. Kino, yesterday. Last chapter I think we learned ashita and kyo, which are tomorrow and today respectively. Okay, and yeah, here are some more suffixes. Nani nani jikan. Something if that ends in jikan is hours. We learned ji, like nani nani ji, just the first one, the first kanji here, and that means o'clock, right, in regards to time. But now that it's nani nani jikan, it means hours. So now this is a duration thing versus a time thing, and that will be a grammar point later on in the chapter as well. BRB. Okay. So, I don't know what CF stands for. Clarification, maybe? I don't know. But ichijikan would be 1 hour, whereas ichiji by itself would be 1 o'clock. But by adding this kan, it becomes duration. 1 hour. Ichijikan. Senshu, last week. Toki, when, at the time of, takes particle no. At the time of takes particle no. So you can say like kodomo no toki. So kodomo is a word we just learned, right? For example, child or children. Kodomo no toki would mean when I was a child, at the time of me being a child. So, which I'm sure will be covered later on when we get to it. And here we are, the days of the week. So today is Monday. Getsuyobi. Kyou wa getsuyobi desu. As for today, it's Monday. Getsuyobi. Kayobi. Tuesday. Suiyobi. Wednesday. Mokuyobi. Friday or Thursday. Kinyobi. Friday. And we learned verbs last chapter. We learned about u-verbs and ru-verbs and how to conjugate them. And I said that most of the verbs are u-verbs. And so it should follow that most of the verbs that we learn in this chapter are u-verbs compared to the 1 ru-verbs that we learned. So au is to meet, to see a person, and it takes the particle ni when it's used with the person, which you'll, of course, explore in great detail, no doubt. Aru means there is, there are. And you use the particle ga. Use a noun plus ga and then aru, which of course we'll cover later as well. This is just the vocab list, right? Kau, to buy, takes particle o. And this is the same kanji as in the noun that we learned, kaimono. So it makes sense, right? You buy the thing that you're shopping for. Kaku, to write, takes particle o. And if you're writing a letter to someone, you'd say person ni tegami o kaku, for example. I really like that they specify what particles the verbs take, because particles are super important. And by changing a particle, it can change who's doing the action, who the action is being done for, where the action's taking place, so on and so forth as well. So particles are really important. So we did kaku, which is to write. toru, which is to take. This is the picture kanji. So toru can be written a different way as well, like most kanji can, but this kanji is for to take a picture. But don't worry about kanji right now. Kanji is 難しいぞ. Very difficult. Matsu, to wait. Wakaru, to understand. And then the ru verb we'll learn. Oh wait, this wakaru is used a lot. Like wakarimasu ka, wakarimasen ka. Like wakarimasen ka is, I guess, not super used, but you hear this verb a lot. It's a very important verb to know, to understand. To understand is better. Ru verb, iru. And this is basically the same as aru, but for sentient things, for living things, organic things, one can say. Cool. Adverbs and other expressions. Nani nani gurai is approximate measurement, not used for what was a good way to explain it? We'll just leave it as this. It's an approximate measurement. That's good. Gomen nasai is an apology, right? We have a lot of different ways to apologize in Japan, in Japanese language especially, because apologizing is so important in Japan, culturally speaking. So gomen nasai is pretty formal apology. Dakara, so, therefore. Takusan, many, a lot. Nani nani to, this is a particle. It means together with. Doushite, why? Hitori de, alone. Hitori de. And now location words. We're going through a lot in this chapter. There's a lot covered. So, it'd be pretty hard to live your daily life without knowing location words. We use them a lot, more than you'd expect, I guess. And there's nothing worse of a feeling. There's no worse feeling than, if someone asks you for directions and you don't have any location words, or, someone tells you where something is. For example, we learned the phrase doko desu ka in chapter 2, right? It's one of the kosoado words. Doko desu ka, where is it? Toire wa doko desu ka? Toire wa doko desu ka? And you'd say like, oh, asoko desu. That's what we learned in chapter 2, right? But now we can be a little bit more specific. So I can say like, Honya no mae desu. It's in front of the bookstore. But if I were to ask toire wa doko desu ka, I really need the toilet, right? So if I were to say toire wa doko desu ka in Japan, and I'm really need to piss or something, and someone's trying to give me directions, but I have no idea what their location is because I don't know the location words, I'd be, SOL. I'd be out of luck. So, migi. Migi means right. Hidari is left. Mae is front. Ushiro is back. Naka is center. Ue is up or above. Shita is down or below or under. Chikaku is nearby. Tonari is right next to something. And aida is between. And it needs two things, right? We'd say like, oh, it's between this and that, right? This being one noun and that being another noun. So similarly, we use noun A, to, noun B, no, aida. And then, but we'll get into sentence construction as well in this chapter, and we'll have on Friday the workbook review for this chapter as well. So you'll have plenty of practice. So this is actually showing us like some examples, like hana ga tsukue no ue ni arimasu. Tsukue is a desk that we learn. No ue, on top of the desk, right? And this is a modification. So the second noun is the more important one, but this basically means like above, right? Above what? Above the desk. It goes backwards. Similarly, tsukue no chikaku is the chair, right? Where is the chair? It's next, or it's near the desk. And so on and so forth. This is a really nice page because it gives you like a graphic example of how to use these different location words. Alright, now we're into the meat and bones, the grammar. So the first construction that we'll learn is X ga arimasu / imasu. X ga arimasu means there are X. And because it's arimasu, it has to be non-living things. So the particle ga introduces or presents the item X. You can use arimasu when you want to say there is something at a certain location. Asoko ni McDonald's ga arimasu. Asoko ni McDonald's ga arimasu. Konbanwa, John-san. Genki desu ka? Genki desho. I'm lurking trying to find a certain Ocarina Carol book. Is this foreshadowing for your stream tomorrow, John? Oh, if it's Christmas time, or whatever that you're introducing as a theme for your channel, you should make Ocarina Redemptions cheaper. Not that I'm actually complaining because I have plenty of channel points, but you know, for the masses, John, for the masses, you have to channel that Holy Spirit. Okay, so, asoko ni McDonald's ga arimasu. There is a McDonald's over there. And we use arimasu because McDonald's is not a sentient thing, not a sentient thing. Note that arimasu is different from other verbs we've seen so far on the following 3 counts. 1, it calls for the particle ni rather than de for place description. Yeah, we'd say asoko ni McDonald's ga arimasu. 2, the place description usually comes at the beginning of the sentence. So we'd say the place where it is first before we say what is actually at that place. And then 3, the thing description is usually followed by the particle ga rather than wa. And it's best to just memorize that. Because ga versus wa is a complicated topic that has many layers. So just memorize it as something ga arimasu, ga imasu. Now I already leaked the Ocarina a bit. Reasonable. Oh, spoilers? Yeah, they're not really that big spoilers, right? Surely. Okay, you can also use arimasu to say you have or own something. So instead of there is, there are, it can also be say I have or own something. So terebi ga arimasen literally can be read as there is no TV. But with context, if I say terebi ga arimasen or terebi ga nai, it means that I don't have a TV, right? Like there is no TV for me. I don't have a TV. Similarly, jikan ga arimasu ka? Jikan ga arimasu ka? Do you have time? It's not like is there time? I mean, you can think of it as is there time, right? But colloquially, you'd say do you have time? We also use arimasu when we want to say an event will take place. So, kayobi ni testo ga arimasu. On Tuesday, there is a test. And remember, this particle ni is because it's this is not to do with the arimasu imasu. This is because days of the work do take particle ni. Well, it's optional, but this ni is related to the first part, not to the second part. Ashita wa nihongo no kurasu ga arimasen. Sorry. So there is no thing. There's not a thing. What is there not a thing of? What is not occurring? Nihongo no kurasu. So there is no Japanese class tomorrow. But the thing is, how do I explain it? So wa is a subject marker. It's a topic marker, right? So wa actually shows what is important in the sentence. So the actual inflection, not pronunciation-wise, but meaning-wise, is actually on the fact that tomorrow there is not a Japanese class. So like something being there or something not being there can never really be the full focus of the sentence. So that's why one of the reasons it takes ga. But ashita wa, as for tomorrow, there is no Japanese lesson, no Japanese class. But anyway. Does time exist? Thong. Yeah, exactly. Jikan ga arimasu ka? Yeah. Just time exists. Thong. Yeah. Daro na. Yeah, Japanese is fully about, not fully, but like highly contextual based, right? So context based, highly contextual. So when you want to present a person or some other sentient being, rather. Hey, they use the word sentient here, or sentient being, rather. Sorry. When you want to present a person or some other sentient thing, sentient being rather than a thing, you need to use the verb imasu. Thus, asoko ni ryugakusei ga imasu. Asoko ni ryugakusei ga imasu. There's an international student over there. You can also use imasu to say that you have friends, siblings, and so forth. 日本人の友達がいます. And then the implied subject is 私は, right? 日本人の友達がいます. I have a Japanese friend. So it's literally basically same in every intent and purpose as あります, in terms of formulaic, construction. But it can only be used with sentient things. And あります can only be used with non-sentient things. So the formula here is place ni, thing ga, person ga, あります or います depending. This place ni is kind of like trippy, seeing as that we learned like ni for destinations in the previous chapter, but do your best to remember it and we'll practice it. So describing where things are. We learned in lesson 2 that to ask for the location of item X, you can use the word doko and say X wa doko desu ka? So for example, X being replaced with McDonald's, McDonaldo wa doko desu ka? A phrase that I may have said 1 or 2 times in Japan. Where is McDonald's? In response, one of course can point and say McDonaldo wa asoko koko desu. Depending, you can't see my finger. Asoko desu, koko desu, depending on where it is. But now we can use more, not better, but better descriptors, right? Because we have that knowledge now that was in our vocabulary for this chapter. But in this lesson, we will learn to describe locations in more detail. More specifically, we learn to describe the location of an item relative to another item. That's a good way of putting it. Relative to another item. Such as, X is in front of Y. The Japanese version of this looks like X wa Y no mae desu. In this situation, because it's in front of, the word for in front is mae. So, あのデパートの前です. If you ask the question, マクドナルドはどこですか? And if I would say like, あのデパートの前です. Like, あのデパート means like that department store over there, right? No mae desu. It's in front of that department store over there. And of course, I can either say McDonaldo wa or I don't have to. And if any of you on the off chance are like, wow, this guy really knows Japanese because he can say McDonaldo without stuttering, it's because I've said McDonaldo because like I've practiced it so many times. Not because I loved McDonald's that much, but because it was the coolest and hardest katakana word to say in early Japanese classes, because this was what I learned, right? I use Genki too. So anyway. Other useful words describing locations are as follow. And this is from our vocab. So, migi, hidari, mae, ushiro, naka, ue, shita, chikaku, tonari, etc., etc. And the translations, right? So, you'd say, X wa, Y to Z no aida desu. And that's how do you say, like, in between something. Because you need because it's a relative indicator, right? You need 2 other nouns to be in between something, right? So, let's look at the following sentences. 銀行は図書館の隣です. 銀行は図書館の隣です. As for the bank, it's near to the library. It's next to the library. 隣 means next to. 近く means nearby. But so 隣です is just next to something, right? What is it next to? You have to look at the noun before the no. 図書館の隣. So 図書館の隣 can be considered as one noun, right? With a location attached to it, a relative location attached to it. So 図書館の隣 means like next to the library. You can think of that as a new noun. It's a noun phrase now. So what is next to the library? 銀行は. So as for the bank, it's next to the library. So let's use that same logic for the next sentence. So the location is shita, right? Which just means under, right? But under what? テーブルの下. So now we have the under the table as a fixed kind of module, right? Under the table. What's under the table? 傘はテーブルの下です. 傘はテーブルの下です. The umbrella is under the table. And here's where we use the trickier one, where it needs more nouns. So, aida means between. Between what, one might ask? 病院, 病院の間です. But that doesn't make sense by itself, because it's just saying in between the hospital. In between the hospital and what, right? You need another noun. Because you need another noun, you need the particle to here. So, デパートと病院の間です. デパートと病院の間です. So, between the department store and the hospital is now one phrase. So, what's between the department store and the hospital? レストランはデパートと病院の間です. The restaurant is between the hospital, not hairdressers, and department store. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to join the Discord and ask if you're watching this as a VOD, or, type in chat. One can use any of the above location words together with a verb to describe an event that occurs in the place. To use these phrases with verbs such as taberu and matsu, one will need the particle de. And remember, de is to show where the action is taking place, right? It shows not where the action is taking place, but it does show where the action is taking place. How do I explain it? Yeah, it's not the destination, it's just where the verb is being carried out. It doesn't necessarily have to be an action, but it's semantics wise here. But let's look at the example sentence. So verbs go last in Japanese. So what's the verb? Machimashita. Machimashita. We haven't learned past tense yet, but we will in the next segment here in this chapter. Machimashita is the past tense, past affirmative tense of matsu, to wait. So someone waited. I waited, presumably. And it says watashi wa. So yeah, I waited, right? So what did you wait for? Meari-san. Meari-san o machimashita. Meari-san o machimashita. I waited for Mary, right? I waited for Mary. Where did you wait for Mary? Mosubaga no mae de. Mosubaga no mae de. I waited for Mary in front of the Mossburger, right? Who waited for you, Mary? And then it says watashi wa, which means I waited, right? If watashi wasn't here, it would still be I waited, because that's the implied subject. So let's break that down again. So machimashita, I waited. For whom? Mary-san o machimashita. I waited for Mary. Okay. Where? Mae de, in front of something. In front of what? Mosubaga no mae de. And I'm pausing at particles because it's easier to break down the sentence that way, and plus it can stress what particles go with what verbs, or like location words and stuff too. So if you're waiting for a person, it's person o matsu. It takes particle o. And where you're waiting, so I'm waiting in the sentence, right? Where am I waiting? Because it's a location where I'm doing the action, being waiting, it takes particle de. So watashi wa mosubaga no mae de Meari-san o machimashita. Which Mary? Exactly. Which Mary? The doppelganger life is real. Poor Takeshi. Yeah, so we'll go back and read the dialogue too, but this is actually probably lifted from the dialogue above. Which is probably why they use the past tense when they haven't formally introduced the past tense. So we'll see there. Okay, past tense of des is we'll find out. The past tense versions of x wa y des, which we learned in chapter 1 sentences, look like the following. So the present tense is des and janai des. We learned des and janai des, right? Des and janai des. The past tense affirmative for des is deshita. Deshita. And the past tense negative is じゃなかったです。じゃなかったです. So let me whip out the whiteboard here. And we're going to go into the past tense of verbs too, right? Cool. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. So before we had something like, for this, right? For this, we had, we'll say this for affirmative. I'm doing it where chat is, aren't I? 1 second, as always. It should be fine. Okay. That's affirmative, and this is negative. Right, so did something, did not do something, so that's right. So in the present tense, it would be des, and that was bad handwriting, but janai des, right? And janai des can also be said like de wa arimasen, or de wa nai desu, and like there are variations, as I think we covered in chapter 1. But for now, and for most of Genki, we'll be using janai desu as the negation of des in the present tense. And that's important because it also can't conjugates. So past tense is simply deshita, right? Deshita. And this is kind of foreshadowing, right? But you can memorize it as a rule of thumb. It becomes, I really don't like how I'm making my yas here. That actually even looks like ka, to be honest, but jana, and then if you drop the nai and put nakata, so it becomes jana kata des, which is kind of foreshadowing to adjective conjugations, but it's not an adjective. But anyway, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Change the pen color, please. Okay, I didn't know it was distracting or not. I'll make it red, unless you're stoned. It just looks beautiful. I really like Galaxy, guys. Okay, but so hopefully this makes sense, right? So let's practice, right? How do I say it is a book? Or, okay, how about this? We'll use the, quintessential phrase, this is a pen, right? How do I say this is a pen? これはペンです. Right? You just did. I just changed the color for you. Yeah. You just asked me to, right? Oh, how do I say this is a pen? Right. But in Japanese. Ta-da. So now how do I say... Okay, I can't say this was a pen. That makes no sense. That was a bad example sentence. Sorry, guys. I did it for the meme, but it's a bad example sentence. Okay. We'll make it simple. So, we'll just make it like, Getsuyobi ni desu, right? Today's Monday. It's Monday. Getsuyobi desu, right? And then tomorrow, I wouldn't say it's Getsuyobi desu because it's not Monday. Tomorrow will be Tuesday, right? So how do I say it was yesterday? It was Monday. Well, let's be realistic and say, with the new vocabulary word we learned, kino wa, as for yesterday, getsuyobi deshita. Right? As for yesterday, it was Monday, right? That makes sense. We'd use that in a normal sentence, like, But if I ask you on Wednesday, was yesterday Monday? You'd be like, no. Or if I ask you today, is today Tuesday? You'd be like, no, it's not Tuesday. So you could say, how do we say Tuesday? Kayobi. 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 That looked horrible. I'd say normally that my handwriting on normal paper is better. It's not. Kayobi. Jesus Louise. My motor control. Ja nai des. Right? It's not Tuesday. Right? It's not Tuesday. And then if I were to ask you tomorrow, if I were to ask you on Tuesday if yesterday was Sunday, I'm confusing myself with time expressions, but basically, if I were to say it was not Monday, it would be Getsuyobi. Getsuyobi. Ja na katta desu. Right? I just wanted to use these in a sentence. We'll have more organic sentences as well. Okay, so that's how we do it with des and deshita, right? But des and deshita are not the only two things that exist in this world, right? There's u verbs and ru verbs, right? So how do we make those into past tense? Because we've learned the present affirmative and the present negative, but we haven't learned the past tense, and one needs past tense, right? Japanese doesn't say Japanese doesn't have future tense, but it does have past tense, so we have to learn the past tense, right? Yo-Yo said, no, you asked how do I say? Oh, for the kore wa pen desu. Oh, I said how do I say kore wa pen desu? I didn't notice. Good catch. I genuinely didn't notice, but okay, so let's go into let's go with it as we see it here. So that's basically what this was. So for example, deshita. We see deshita at the end of a sentence, and we know that means it's the past affirmative of the verb des, right? The verb, the existing thing that is des. So what was a thing? Gakusei deshita. Was a student. Okay, tell me more. What kind of student? Daigaku no gakusei deshita. I was a student of a university. What university? But okay, so Sakura Daigaku should be paired together. So Sakura Daigaku no gakusei deshita. I was a student of Sakura Daigaku, Sakura University. It's not, I said I was a student, but that's because I was just inferring that the subject would be I, right? Unless I know otherwise, the subject will always be I. So here we see that the subject is not I, and then the subject is actually Yamashita sensei. Yamashita sensei wa Sakura Daigaku no gakusei deshita. As for Mr. Yamashita, or Professor Yamashita, he was a student of Sakura Daigaku. Not you, Yamashita says. Yeah, because we're reading it backwards, right? We don't know what the subject is until we get to that part. But yeah, that's right. Good catch, Yo-Yo. So, now we see the sentence ending in janakatta desu. It's weird, okay, but don't forget that when you conjugate to the past negative of des, it becomes janakatta, but you have to add the des to the end. It's janakatta desu. So, honyarara wa desu, honyarara janai desu, honyarara deshita, honyara janakatta desu. It's in the beginning of the sentence. Yeah, that's right. Yamashita sensei wa Sakura Daigaku no gakusei deshita. So if we read the sentence once, I guess is a compromise that Yo-Yo and I can hopefully make. We can say, "Are wa Nihon no eiga janakatta desu." So what does that mean? Let's break it down. It was not something. Janakatta desu means the past negative, right? So it was not. What was it not? Eiga. It was not a movie. What kind of movie? Nihon no eiga. It was not a Japanese movie. What was not a Japanese movie? Are wa. That was not a Japanese movie. And if you read it from left to right, it'd be like, as for that Japan movie, it was not. Right? As for that Japanese movie, it was not. It was not a Japanese movie. Yeah, also fine. So that's for des, right? But des by itself isn't really a verb. It's kind of like a placeholder almost. There's a legitimate like technical word for that, linguistic word for it, but I have no idea what it is. So it's just not a verb. It's just a thing. So now we look at the past tense of verbs. The past tense forms of verbs look like the following, presumably this, where this tilde looking thing stands for the stem of the verb. That's right. So remember how we use the verb stem to conjugate sentences? So let's see. What's a nice ru verb that everyone uses? It would be like taberu, right? Taberu, which means to eat. To eat, right? And we've learned how to make this. We're gonna make this chart, right? We always make this little chart where this is the positive and this is the affirmative and negative, and then this will be present and then past, right? Just slightly out of frame, right? So taberu, to make the present tense for ru verbs, right? Just as a refresher, we okay, to conjugate any verb, we find the stem, add mas or masen. Yeah, that was bad. Hang on. Or masen. Right? That's how we conjugate any verb. Find the stem, add mas or masen in the present tense, right? So for ru verbs, do verbs, the stem is drop ru. Drop the final ru to stem. I should make this stems. For u verbs, we make it the e sound. You make the final kana into the e sound. That's how we find the stems, right? So for taberu, which is a ru verb, to eat, truth table. I don't fully follow, Yo-Yo. What do you mean? But yeah, so if we drop to find the stem for ru verbs, we drop the ru. So taberu becomes tabe is the stem, and then for the present tense, we add mas. So tabe becomes tabemas, right? Never mind. Okay, not much either way. And this becomes tabemasen, right? This should be a review, seeing as we did it last week. Tabemasen, right? I eat, I do not eat. To make it past tense, instead of the new step is the same. Find the stem. And now two, it's add mashita or masen deshita. Add mashita or masen deshita. So taberu becomes tabe, that's the stem, and then we add mashita. Tabe mashita means I ate, or yeah, I ate basically, with I being the subject. And to make it negative, this is where you have to write a bit more. Tabe masen deshita. And it's good to think of it as like adding masen deshita instead of just adding deshita to masen, because that can get convoluted and weird in the future. But hopefully that makes sense with ru verbs, right? Now let's take an example u verb. Let's do kau, because it's one of our vocab words. Kau, which means to buy, right? We'll make the same diagram where we have present and past, right? That's probably too close by. I'll give myself a little bit more room. We don't have to do this every time, of course, but it's good to visualize it in the beginning. And this will be affirmative, and this will be negative, right? So, kau, right? To find the stem, it's an u verb. We make it to the e sound, right? So kau is in the first column, right? A, I, U, E, O. So it becomes kai, a, I, U, E, O. Kau becomes kai, right? So kai is the stem of the u verb kau, right? So we found the stem. And now for the present tense, I should put present here, up here. Pres. And this is past. So the present form would be kau plus kai plus mas and masen. So it becomes kai mas. Kai mas. And the negative would be kai masen. Do not buy, right? So for the past, right, we find the stem again, and we know it's kai, right? The stem doesn't change. So we know it's kai, we can write that. Kai. And now this mas, instead of kai mas, it becomes kaimashita. Kaimashita. And instead of saying kaimasen, it becomes kaimasen deshita. Oh god, here we go. Kaimasen dish. Shoot. Thank you very much. I can write small. My hand hurts like hell, and my handwriting ain't much better, but kaimasen deshita. It's a problem I created by myself because I made the table so small, but kaimasen deshita. Right? And we're going to practice that a bunch, but hopefully that makes sense. So we might do it with a different verb, and I'll do it orally so I can save my fingers a bit. So instead of taberu, what happens if we use a ru verb like okiru? Okiru, which means to wake up, right? So okiru. Because it's a ru verb, to find the stem, we drop the final ru, right? Try typing instead. There's nowhere to type to. And I'm doing this because I wanted to, it would be less painful. I know, but it's good to practice handwriting. And I can't say you guys should know your hiragana and be able to write it if I can't, right? So it's good. But you're right, Yo-Yo, it would be less painful. Raya. 141. Thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel. But yeah, so let's use a different ru verb, okiru, right? Because it's a ru verb, we drop the final ru, and oki remains. So oki is the base, right? The stem. It would also be easier to read. I'm also speaking it out loud, Yo-Yo. So hopefully that might make it easier to understand overall. But thanks for adding me and my handwriting. But yeah. So, and I do type it out when it comes to like workbook exercises. So if you have questions about that, please see the other VOD or whatnot, where I do actually type out the conjugations for these as well. But yeah, okiru, right? The verb, the stem becomes oki. So how do we make it present positive and negative? Okimasu, right? And okimasen. And to make it past, we still take that same oki base stem and we add mashita. So it becomes okimashita. Okimasen deshita. Right? And another u verb could be what's a fun u verb? まあとりあえず話す Oh, just trying to help me help others. Oh, thanks, Yo-Yo. That's kind. And I can actually type it here too. Maybe I can implement that. That's not a horrible idea, but I can't move this freaking chat box. Oh, don't tell me I have to use the pen to move the chat box. That would be so annoying. Why? Hang on, chat. Small difficulties. What? Okay, no, that's super annoying. But, fun verb. Fuck, I forgot what it was. A white pen. Why would a white pen be better? Is Japanese my second language? Japanese is my second language, yeah. And write little larger characters. Okay, I appreciate the feedback. I could do. Yeah, I didn't have to make all this on one screen, for sure. I can do that. I can do that. I'll try to implement that. Thank you, Yo-Yo. Okay, so another u verb, what did I say? Hanasu? Okay, so hanasu is, the last kana is su, right? So that's like sa, shi, su, se, so. So what is the e form under su? It's shi, right? Sa, shi, shi. So hanasu becomes hanashi, and hanashi is the verb stem, right? And then if we add mas, hanashimasu is the present affirmative. I speak, hanashimasu. I don't speak, hanashimasen. Hanashimasen. I do not speak. And then hanashimashita, hanashimashita, hanashimasen deshita. Hanashimasen deshita. Yeah. Nice. Thanks. You're welcome, sir. You can pay me later. I'll pay you all right, Yo-Yo. I'll pay you your just desserts. Okay, very good. But white pen versus a red pen. Is this hard for you guys to see? Out of curiosity. I can also use the highlighter. I am just kidding. I would never. I guess this is like totally trollsy, huh? Using like a galaxy pen. Yeah, that'd be very troll. Okay, so now we will basically reiterate what I said. So, kaerimashita. Kaerimashita means what? Return to a place, right? That's our last chapter 3 vocab, and it's an u verb. Kaeru is an u verb. So kaerimashita means present affirmative of kaeru. Kaerimashita. Where did they return to a place? We don't know who the subject is yet. Uchi ni kaerimashita. Return back home, right? When did they return back home? And remember, uchi ni kaerimashita. This ni is because it shows the destination. It's like the destination ni. Because it's with the verb kaeru, which is to move. It's a moving verb, right? Iku, kuru, kaeru, modoru, so on and so forth. So uchi ni kaerimashita. Return back home. What time? Kuji goro. Kuji goro. Around 9 p.m. Kuji goro uchi ni kaerimashita. Who returned home around 9 p.m.? Meari-san. 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 Meari-san wa kuji goro ni uchi ni kaerimashita. So as for Mary, she returned home around 9 p.m. And now we have the verb shimasen deshita. Shimasen deshita. Which is from suru, which is one of the irregular verbs. Suru's stem is just shi. Shi. And if we add masen deshita to shi, becomes shimasen deshita. Means did not do something, play something. We'll find out. So what was not being done? Benkyo shimasen deshita. Did not study. Did not study. What did they not study? Nihongo o benkyou shimasen deshita. Nihongo o benkyou shimasen deshita. I did not study Japanese. When? Kino. Kino. And remember, this kino, because it's a time expression relative to today, does not take particle ni. So kino, nihongo o benkyou shimasen deshita. Who? Watashi wa kino, nihongo o benkyou shimasen deshita. It's a long sentence, but it's good to break it down and repeat it. Okay. So the various details of formation of the long forms that we learned in lesson 3, like the ru verb, u verb, irregular verb distinctions, all apply to the past tenses as well. But luckily, as I said before, Japanese doesn't have that many irregular verbs. So Thank goodness for that. So now we're going on to learn a particle. Particle mo. Mo basically means also. We learned in lesson 2 that we use particle mo in reference to the second item, which shares a common attribute with the first. You can use mo when 2 or more people perform the same activity. 2 or more people perform the same activity. It has to be pretty similar, otherwise you can't use mo. So, 私は昨日京都に行きました。私は昨日京都に行きました。I went to Kyoto yesterday. 山下先生も昨日京都に行きました。So, as for me, I went to Kyoto yesterday. As for Professor Yamashita, he also went to Kyoto yesterday. And so in English we can say like, oh, I went to Kyoto yesterday, and like, you know, Tom did too, or John did too. You can say the same in Japanese. You can say 私は昨日京都に行きました, or just 昨日京都に行きました。あ、ジョンさんも行きました。Like John also went, and then the destination of being Kyoto is implied because you use particle mo, so everything has to be like the same. Yeah. Or when someone buys, sees, or eats 2 or more things. So メアリーさんは靴を買いました。メアリーさんは靴を買いました。I wish I went to Kyoto yesterday, Pepper Hands. Yeah, man, me too. I wish I went to Kyoto yesterday too. But I wouldn't have come back today if I went to Kyoto. Oh man, I missed Kyoto so much. Okay. メアリーさんは靴を買いました。メアリーさんはカバンも買いました。So even though the subject is the same, what's being bought is different. But the fact that they're being bought means that you can replace the particle with mo. So here's an important distinction. In this sentence, and in chapter 2, we learned that the mo can replace particle wa. So 私は昨日京都に行きました。山下先生も昨日京都に行きました。But in this sentence, the wa isn't being replaced. The o is being replaced. So メアリーさんは靴を買いました。You can't say メアリーさんは靴を買いました。メアリーさんもカバンを買いました。It doesn't make sense because the same things. Okay. Here we go, chat. This is really complicated and confusing and silly. But basically, if I were to say メアリーさんは靴を買いました。メアリーさんも、you know, 靴を買いました。Then it would actually be the doppelganger universe in which there'd be 2 Meari-sans. But in this situation, what's being ibited, what's being copied is not the subject, although the subject is the same. It's the direct object. So instead of shoes, she also bought a bag. So Meari-san は靴を買いました。カバンも買いました。You can drop the Meari-san part because the subject is the same. I know that's a little bit confusing, or maybe I made it confusing, but in both cases, mo directly marks an item on the list of things or people that have something in common. Observe that mo replaces the particle wa, ga, or o in these sentences. You can also use mo when you go to 2 places, do something on 2 different occasions, and so forth. For example, 私は先週京都に行きました。I went to Kyoto last week. Last week is a new vocab word we learned in this chapter. 大阪にも行きました。So this is pretty advanced, I'd say. Even though it's chapter 4, it's pretty advanced because using 2 particles one right after another is not super common, and so therefore, like, recognize the situation when you can, or understanding it when you hear it is pretty cool. So 先週京都に行きました。大阪にも行きました。I went to Kyoto as well as Osaka. I went to Kyoto last week. I went to Osaka too. ロバートさんは土曜日にパーティーに行きました。As for Robert, colloquially speaking, Robert went to a party on Saturday, right? 行きました, past affirmative. Went to a party on Saturday. 日曜日にもパーティーに行きました. He went to a party on Sunday too. Dude's a partier. Freaking UK people, right? Robert's from the UK. We put mo after the particle ni in these sentences. More generally, particles other than wa, ga, and o are used together with mo rather than being replaced by it. Oh, okay, that's a cool rule of thumb. So like de, particle de, and like so on and so forth. That's pretty cool. I didn't know. I knew that. I just forgot it. It would make as much sense as other languages. What would make as much sense as in other languages? Sorry, the delay and my memory is quite shit, so I don't exactly remember what I said. The next thing, ichijikan, is the name of the section, which is interesting. But we're learning... Oh, something you said 5 minutes ago? Perfect. Interesting, because I said Kyoto... maika. Sokka. Sorry. Learning languages is my hobby. I love doing it in my free time. Yeah, me too, mate. Genuinely, me too. I normally play Go, but as for like free time activities, I like learning languages too. Do you know any Japanese? Raya? Am I saying your name correctly? And if you do know Japanese, how much Japanese do you know? If you don't mind my asking. Okay, so we learned ichiji as a time, like 1 o'clock. But now by adding kan, it becomes duration, right? I think I said this stream about when I was looking at the vocab list. But now we're learning time as a duration. So the duration of activity is expressed with the bare noun like ichijikan. Such a noun stands alone, that is, not followed by any particle. So, Meari-san wa soko de takushi-san o 1時間待ちました. 1時間待ちました. If you look at the previous sentence where we say 待ちました, which is a little bit far back, Takushi-san here. Where was it? Hang on. It was the sentence here. Machimashita is the same verb, but we have Meari-san o machimashita, waited for Mary-san, right? But even in English, we say waited for, right? But in English, we'd say waited an hour. But that and is not expressed by any particle. So, in this sentence, we have 1時間待ちました, waited for 1 hour. Meari-san wa, as for Mary-san, そこで, over there, Takeshi-san o 1時間待ちました. So this o, this 待ちました, if you're waiting for someone, you still need that particle o, Takeshi-san o, but you can add this phrase in 1時間, doesn't need a particle. So, yeah. Meari-san wa soko de Takeshi-san o 1時間待ちました. No, I know learning language, but my high school didn't allow me. Oh, I see. I know Kurdish. Wow. My mother tongue and Arabic and English. Wow, that's a lot of languages. Very cool. Do you have interest in Japanese language more than like other languages? Like, do you like Japan, for example, or is it just another language that you wouldn't mind learning because you like learning languages? Okay, for an approximate measurement, you can add gurai after jikan, which is what we learned before in the vocab list. So, 私は昨日日本語を3時間ぐらい勉強しました. So, 勉強しました means I learned, right? Because the subject is 私は. I learned. What did I learn? 日本語を. I learned Japanese, right? For how long did I learn Japanese? 3時間ぐらい. 3時間ぐらい. Around 3 hours, about 3 hours. When? 昨日, yesterday. So, 私は昨日日本語を3時間ぐらい勉強しました。私は昨日日本語を3時間ぐらい勉強しました。I studied Japanese for about 3 hours yesterday. To say 1.5 hours or 1 hour and a half, you can add han immediately after jikan. Han literally means half, so it makes sense, right? So, 昨日7時間半寝ました。7時間半、7時間半寝ました。 I slept for 7.5 hours yesterday. Not to be confused with I slept at 7:30. This kan and the fact that there's no particle ni makes it duration. 7時間半 寝ました. Yes, I want to learn Japanese, but it's my last year, so I'm just chilling with school subjects. But after school, yes, I will start. That's awesome. Hopefully, this stream and previous streams can help you. Alright. Takusam. Takusam. Expressions of quantity in Japanese are rather different from those in English. In Japanese, if you want to add a quantity word like takusan to the direct object of a sentence, you either place it before the noun, or after the particle o. Yeah, that's confusing. Let's look at an example. Torimashita is the verb. Watashi wa Kyoto de. So, as for me, in Kyoto, I took many pictures, is what we want to say, right? Torimashita is to take a photo. Past tense affirmative. Took a photo. So at Kyoto, I took photos. So how do we say lots of photos, right? Shashin o. Okay, so to take a photo is shashin o toru is the dictionary form. Shashin o toru. Shashin is the word for picture. Particle o, because it's being acted upon. You're taking the picture, right? So shashin o toru. Shashin o torimashita, right? So if I say watashi wa Kyoto de shashin o torimashita, it makes perfect sense. It just means I took pictures in Kyoto, right? But I want to specify that I took a lot of photos, right? Shashin o takusan torimashita. Shashin o takusan torimashita. Or takusan shashin o torimashita. Takusan shashin o torimashita. Either way is okay. I think you're saying it wrong. Shashin. Shashin. Shashin o takusan torimashita. Takusan shashin o torimashita. Was I saying sashin or something? If so, I apologize. It's shashin. But good catch, Yo-Yo. If I did say it wrong. Good catch. Alright, I ate a lot of... I meant pronouncing it wrong. In what way? Shashin. You keep saying it. Check it, please. Check the way I say shashin. Or... Oh, you're saying the actual thing? Alright, let's find out.
Shashin.
Shashin. Oh. Shashin. Shashin.
Shashin.
Shashin. Okay. Reasonable. So for Hyojungo, I was saying it wrong. Thank you. Yo-Yo. Yeah, I do hear it. So thanks for pointing that out. I am not a native Japanese speaker, so I will make mistakes, especially when it relates to Hyojungo, which is the standard Japanese dialect. Thanks for deleting me all my messages. That's fine. I didn't, but it seems that it was just the difference was pitch. Yeah, John. I was saying shashin instead of shashin. Shashin, it should raise at the end. Yo-Yo. I really appreciate you pointing it out. I don't appreciate the attitude. That's uncalled for and unnecessary. And yeah, I didn't delete your messages. Streamlabs does it automatically. And then secondly, I did preface when I started this series that I'm not a Japanese native speaker, so I won't always know the correct pronunciation, but I will do the best that I can. And then secondly, do you know how to say shashin in Kansai Ben? I reckon if it's shashin in Hyojungo, it will be shashin in Kansai Ben. So, c'est la vie. But yes, Yo-Yo, very good. Oh, because you put Jisho, yeah, maybe. You can hardly speak. Anyway. But yeah, so, shashin aside, shashin aside, we can go to the next one. No, you didn't offend me, mate. I just wanted to specify that I'm not purporting to know the language as a native speaker. And I appreciate you pointing it out. But the pronunciation of the word shashin wasn't really the main focus of this specific topic anyway. We're trying to explain how takusan can be used in a sentence. So, but yeah, let's look at another use of takusan. I ate a lot of vegetables is our example sentence. Yasai o takusan. Yasai o takusan tabemashita. Yasai o takusan tabemashita. Or you can say takusan yasai o tabemashita. So basically, takusan can go after o or before the noun. So you can't say yasai takusan o tabemashita. That doesn't make sense. Or it would make sense to a native speaker because they can listen to what you're saying and help you out. But that's not grammatically correct according to Genki. So, and if I said yasai wrong, I apologize, Yo-Yo. To, particle to. The particle to has two functions. One is connect two nouns, A and B, right? So the key word in the sentence is the two nouns bit. It can't connect two verbs or anything else. They have to be two nouns, A and B. So, 日本語と英語と、違う。日本語と英語を話します。日本語と英語を話します。This to connects the two nouns, Nihongo and Eigo, which are both languages, right? They share a commonality. I speak Japanese and English. If you wanted to try hard and practice the particle no, particle mo, you can say Nihongo o hanashimasu, Eigo mo hanashimasu. So you can say I speak Japanese. I also speak English. But if you want to be efficient and say that in one sentence, you can say Nihongo to Eigo o hanashimasu. I speak Japanese and English. 京都と大阪に行きました。京都と大阪に行きました。I went to Kyoto and Osaka, which we learned here as two separate sentences, right? Granted, it was, yeah, 先週京都に行きました。大阪にも行きました。You can say that, but you can also say 京都と大阪に行きました。The other meaning of to is together with. It describes with whom you do something. So, Meari-san は Sue-san と韓国に行きました。Or 行きます。韓国に行きます。So, Mary will go to Korea with Sue, which makes sense because Sue is actually Korean. Yeah, Sue-san is Korean, I think. So, Japanese national holidays, which is incredible. I will not go over them because I don't know very much about them, and also it will make me very jealous because we don't have them as much in the West. So rip. But there's a lot of holidays in Japan, like Greenery Day. I guess we have Arbol Day, but it's definitely not a freaking holiday. Vernal Equinox Day. That's so cool, man. Okay. So practice. 病院があります。病院があります。Look at the picture and tell what you say using あります or います. So number one. This is so cringy, but they use あなた so much here. So I'll say it, I guess. あなたの町に日本のレストランがありますか？あなたの町に日本のレストランがありますか？ In your town, you remember the particle is ni here. Is there a Japanese restaurant? So let's see, is there a Japanese restaurant here? Oh no, sorry, this isn't relative to this at all. This is just saying, you know, 喫茶店があります。病院の隣に喫茶店があります。銀行の左に喫茶店があります and stuff like that. It's a really good exercise. So if I were to ask you, where is the hospital? And I want you to say it's behind the library, right? So you'd say 病院は as for the no, we'll try to use ga arimasu and ga imasu. So we'd say, if I want to say the hospital is behind the library, right? I'd say behind the library first. So I'd say 図書館図書館の後ろに図書館の後ろに病院があります。So the hospital is behind the library. So if I were to say レストランは銀行の前です。銀行の前です。What would that mean? Or I'd say 銀行の前にレストランがあります。Both of those are perfectly same sentences, like they say the exact same information. It means that the restaurant is located in front of the bank. But yeah, we'll skip over this page for now in the interest of time. This is cool. So look at Takshi's schedule for the week and answering the following questions. So here's his schedule. And here are the following questions, right? So the example question is 月曜日にフランス語のクラスがありますか? That was Kansai Ben. 月曜日にフランス語のクラスありますか? ありますか? So on Monday, is there a French class? Do you have French? Basically, colloquially speaking. はい、あります. Yes, I have it. Yes, I do. So on Monday, yes, there's French, right? So here's the next question. 月曜日に英語のクラスがありますか? 英語のクラスがありますか? I'm making it like Kansai Ben. 月曜日に英語のクラスがありますか? ありますか? 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 授業がありますか? まあいいか. Pronunciation aside. On Monday, do you have English class? And he does, right? So, はい、あります。英語のクラスがあります。火曜日にコンピューターのクラスがありますか? On Tuesday, does he have a computer class? He does, right? So you'd say, いいえ、ありません。いいえ、ありません。Or, いや、ありません。Good night, guys. Good night, Yo-Yo. Sleep well. The next question. 木曜日にフランス語のクラスがありますか? ありますか? That's better. ありますか? On Thursday, do you have French lessons or French class? いいえ、ありません. No, we do not. 土曜日にクラスがありますか? Do you have class on Saturday? いいえ、ありません. There's no school on Saturday. You have a date. 金曜日に何がありますか? On Friday, what do you have? On Friday, what do you have? So what do you have on Friday? English test, right? And a party. But we'll say the test part. We don't want to tell the people we have a party. So 金曜日に英語のテストがあります。英語のテストがあります。Takeshi, I have 2 dates and they're both with Marys. Do you mean Mary? No, I mean Marys. Thank you very much. Oh man, I have to find a Reddit message board that, like, purports that there's in fact 2 Marys. Such a great conspiracy. Alright, 日曜日に何がありますか? You have a part-time job, right? So アルバイトがあります。日曜日にアルバイトがあります。があります。Pair work. I'm not telling y'all my schedule. It's on twitch.tv/LionGuySai/schedule. I guess that's the link. I don't know. But look at the picture and tell where the following things are. So, yeah, number one, the example is 図書館, right? Where's the library? 図書館は大学の後ろです。図書館は大学の後ろです。The library is behind the university. So this is really shite. Hang on, let me see if I can zoom in here. And then edit the layout, make me a bit smaller. 1 second. Make chat a bit smaller. Okay. Perfect. Now we can all see a bit better. So, 郵便局. Wow, I definitely don't know this kanji. Damn. So where is the 郵便局, right? So first we have to find Yubin Kyoku. Yubin Kyoku right here, right? So we'll say it's in front of the Byoin. Byoin. It's in front of the hospital. So Yubin Kyoku wa Byoin no mae desu. Mae desu. Yubin Kyoku wa Byoin no mae desu. It's in front of the hospital. Number 2. Kisaten. 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 Where the heck is the kisaten? Oh, it's inside the hotel, right? So, kisaten wa hotel no naka ni... Ah, crap. Ni arimasu is something we haven't learned yet, but... Oh, yeah, we have. Ni arimasu. That's where the thing is located. Ni arimasu. It's showing the place where the thing is. So the place takes particle ni when it comes with arimasu. So, kisaten wa hotel no naka ni arimasu. Yeah. It's showing the location of the thing, of the place. The location of the place, yeah. Number 3, bus day. We won't do all 6 of them, but we'll do, I think, I will stop after bus day and move on. So, bus day wa doko ni arimasu ka? Where is the bus stop? Bus day wa daigaku no mae desu. Bus day wa daigaku no mae desu. It's in front of the daigaku, right? And these are more location-based verbs. Location-based questions. So, hon wa tsukue no ue desu. Tsukue no ue desu. It's on top of the table, right? Hon wa tsukue no ue desu. This is a book, I guess. So, enpitsu wa tsukue no ue desu. It's on top of the desk too, right? Enpitsu is pencil. Racket wa kaban no naka desu. Kaban no naka desu. It's inside the bag, right? Or you can also say, because that's how location works, it's a relative thing. Tsukue no shita desu. Tsukue no shita desu. It's under the desk, right? Toke. Where's the watch? Toke wa terebi no mae desu. It's in front of the television, right? Terebi no mae desu. Denwa wa. That sounds funny, doesn't it? Denwa wa. But remember, this is written with hiragana wa, and the next thing is particle wa, which is hiragana ha. Denwa wa kasa no tonari desu. Kasa no tonari desu. It's next to the umbrella. The umbrella. Kaban wa tsukue no shita desu. The bag is under the desk. Boshi wa okay. Boshi wa doa no hidari desu. Boshi wa doa no hidari desu. Right? It's to the left of the door. You can say mado no migi desu, to the right of the window. All are fine. Pair work we'll go over never. Guessing game, God. Okay, this is nice. Change the following verbs into mashita and masen deshita. So, past affirmative and past negative forms, right? So, taberu becomes tabemashita. Taberu becomes tabemasen deshita, right? So, hanasu, it's an u verb, so it becomes hanashi is the stem, and then we add mashita, hanashimashita. And then we take the stem hanashi, and we add masen deshita, hanashimasen deshita. So, number 2 would be kaimashita, kaimasen deshita, because it's an u verb. Number 3, yomimashita, yomimasen deshita. Kakimashita, kakimasen deshita. Kuru is irregular. The stem for kuru is ki, and we add mashita and masen deshita. So, kuru becomes kimashita, kimasen deshita. Machimashita, machimasen deshita. Remember, tachi tsute to. So it's an u verb, so it becomes chi, machi. Machimashita, machimasen deshita. Okiru is a ru verb, actually. So okiru is okimashita, okimasen deshita. Wakaru It's a disguised u verb. It's an u verb. わかりました。わかりませんでした。する another irregular. The stem is しました。しませんでした。取る取りました。取りませんでした。あるありました。ありませんでした。寝る寝ました。寝ませんでした。聞く聞きませんでした。あ、違う。聞きました。聞きませんでした。帰る is the u verb. 帰りました。帰りませんでした。飲む飲みました。飲みませんでした。Wow, it's a small favor to John that they put nomu and yomu so far apart. Okay, these pictures show what Mary did last week. Tell what she did. So this is good because we can practice all of our particles together and use ni for the days of the week. So example is メアリーさんは月曜日に図書館で勉強しました。Mary studied the library on Monday. Mary studied at the library on Monday, right? So メアリーさんは火曜日に手紙をメアリーさんは火曜日にうちで or 家で手紙を書きました。That was a lot, right? So she wrote a letter at home on Tuesday, right? So she played tennis at school on Wednesday. メアリーさんは水曜日に学校でテニスをしました。That's a lot. Thursday, at a coffee shop. Let's use the verb to meet. She met up with Takeshi covertly, but we won't say covertly. I don't even know how to say covertly. Kusuksu maybe is the onomatopoeia. I could be completely wrong. But anyway, she met with Takeshi on Thursday at a coffee shop. How about that? So Meari-san wa kissaten de. And then how do you say meet a person? It's kind of a tricky one. The verb to meet is au, right? But the person, you don't meet. It's not person o au, it's person ni au. So Meari-san wa kissaten de Takeshi-san ni aimashita. And I forgot to say Thursday. So Meari-san wa mokuyobi ni kissaten de, because that's where the action is taking place. That's where they're meeting one another. Takeshi-san ni aimashita. So on Friday, so Mary-san, on Friday at her friend's house. Why is that my friend's house? What the hell? Fine, at my friend's house, let's say had lunch, right? So Mary-san wa kinyoubi ni watashi no tomodachi no ie de hirugahan o tabemashita. Hirugahan o tabemashita. Long sentence, right? And then Mary saw a movie in Kyoto on Saturday. So Mary-san wa doyoubi ni Kyoto de eiga o mimashita. Mary-san wa doyoubi ni Kyoto de eiga o mimashita. Mary-san on Sunday did her shopping at a department store, right? Mary-san wa 日曜日にデパートで買い物をしました。メアリーさんは日曜日にデパートで買い物をしました。Or simply 買い物しました because that's a set verb as by itself too. So we're going to skip over this for now. Okay. Compare sentence A and B and change the sentence B using mo. So here we'll be practicing using mo. So Takeshi-san wa toke o kaimashita. Takeshi-san wa kaban o kaimashita. So he bought both a clock and a bag. So you can say we'll change the second sentence to, because Takeshi-san is staying the same, just what he bought is changing. We can say the second sentence can become Takeshi-san wa kaban mo kaimashita. The mo will replace particle o here. Roberto-san wa nihongo o benkyou shimasu. メアリーさんは日本語を勉強します。So now the thing that's different is the subjects, right? Who is studying? So ロバートさんは日本語を勉強します。メアリーさんも日本語を勉強します。Because they're both studying Japanese. たけしさんは土曜日にアルバイトをします。たけしさんは日曜日にアルバイトをします。So, the second one can be changed to 日曜日にもアルバイトをします。日曜日にもアルバイトをします。日曜日にも土曜日にアルバイトをします。日曜日もアルバイトをします。日曜日にもアルバイトをします。Yeah. Like I said, I don't really use Nemo very often, so it's a little bit confusing when we have the chance to, because I don't have very much practice with it. メアリーさんはうちで日本語を話します。メアリーさんは学校で日本語を話します。So, she speaks Japanese at home and at school. So, メアリーさんはうちで日本語を話します。メアリーさんは学校でも日本語を話します。Use でも, so like in school as well, she also speaks Japanese. But I think you guys get the gist, so I'll move on past that. And then we can use time expressions, 時間, right? So, メアリーさんは8時間寝ました。メアリーさんは8時間寝ました。Mary slept for 8 hours, right? 8 hours. So, she played tennis for 2 hours. メアリーさんはメアリーさんは2時間テニスをしました。メアリーさんは2時間テニスをしました。メアリーさんは3時間勉強しました。メアリーさんは3時間勉強しました。1 and a half. I read this as I and a half hours. 1 and a half hours. メアリーさんは1時間半音楽を聴きました。メアリーさんは1時間半音楽を聴きました。She listened to music for 1 and a half hours. Okay. Here's foreshadowing for the dialogue that we'll go back and read, and not forget to read, I should say. メアリーさんは1時間たけしさんを待ちました。たけしさんを待ちました。She waited for Takeshi for 1 hour. メアリーさんは2時間半テレビを見ました。2時間半テレビを見ました。She watched television for 2 hours. Pair work. There's a lot of pair work here. And I can't really do it. Useful expressions, days, weeks, months, years. Okay, so the first 10 days of a calendar, of every month, have special names. So the first is called 1日、2日、3日、4日、5日、6日、7日、8日、9日、and 10日. And then it becomes 11日、12日、13日、14日, so on and so forth. And like 20日 is an outlier too. But if you can say like, you can probably say 1日、9月の1日. No, it doesn't. You really should use 1日、2日. It's hard to memorize them. And there's no real pattern except for like 普通 is like 2 and well, there's a little bit of a pattern, but it's definitely not going to be explained here in this VOD, in this lesson. But it's really cool to learn these. And of course, months, they go chronologically as opposed to in English we have different names for the months, right? But 1月、2月、3月、4月、4月 rather, 5月、6月, so on and so forth. Some cool words. Ototoi means the day before yesterday. Kino means yesterday. Kyo means today. Ashita means tomorrow. But Ototoi is the day before yesterday, and Asatte is the day after tomorrow. And that's so freaking cool. I wish English had that. a day for the day before yesterday, a word for the day before yesterday and the day after tomorrow. But yeah, okay, so now we can go back to our dialogue and figure out exactly what happened. We covered so much. Granted, we skipped a lot of pair work because there's a lot of pair work in this chapter. Okay, here we go. Right? The first date. Change my layout a bit, make it a little bit easier to see. Perfect. Okay. The first date. 初めてのデート。初めてのデート。Here's the dialogue. Mary goes downtown. Mary, すみません。すみません。マクドナルドはどこですか？マクドナルドはどこですか？ Excuse me, where is McDonald's? And remember, this is excuse me, not I'm sorry. Right? The many uses of すみません。すみません。マクドナルドはどこですか？ And then 知らない人。知らない人 means stranger. 他人。知らない人。あそこにデパートがありますね。マクドナルドはあのデパートの前ですよ。あそこにデパートがありますね。マクドナルドはあのデパートの前ですよ。So over there, there's a department store, right? Remember that this, like the ne means right or like that. So over there, there's a department store, right? McDonald's is in front of that department store. ありがとうございます。Thank you very much. Yesterday. So much quicker, isn't it? Yesterday. You only just now typed that, right, John? Like, I swear there wasn't that much delay between. It's not like a 2-minute delay on my stream. Yesterday. Oh, crap. Do we have that in English? Yesterday? There's no way, right? Is that actually a real word? Guys, I swear I'm a native English speaker. No, it's not. Yesterday. I would really wish. Because yesteryear. Actually, yesteryear probably just means like a long time ago, huh? Maybe there's a delay. But like, yeah, even if there's a delay, it wouldn't be a 2-minute delay. But yeah, it's not a word. I wish. I really wish. Damn. Okay, so Mary goes downtown. She asks where the McDonald's is. The stranger says the McDonald's is in front of a department store. She says thank you very much. In the evening, right, so there's a time lapse here. At Mary's host family's house, right, Mary says, Tadaima, I'm home. Tadaima. Otosan, not her real father, her host father. Okaeri nasai. Okaeri nasai. Eiga wa dou deshita ka? And for context, right, for those of you who didn't tune in last week and have never heard anything about the Genki series, last week, both in the real world and in the textbook world, right? Mary and Takeshi set a date to watch a movie together, using mimasenka as a grammatical construct that we learned, the masenka invitation form. So this is that promised date. So eiga wa dou deshita ka? They were supposed to watch a movie together. So the father is asking, welcome home. How was the movie, right? Mimasen deshita. Mimasen deshita. I didn't see it, right? Past negative of miru. Mimasen deshita. Takeshi-sama kimasen deshita. Takeshi-sama kimasen deshita. Takeshi didn't come. Eh? Doushite desu ka? What? Why is that? Eh? Doushite desu ka? Wakarimasen. Wakarimasen. I don't know. Right? Exactly, John. I was shook too. だから一人で本屋とお寺に行きました。だから一人で本屋とお寺に行きました。I don't know. So I went by myself. I went to the bookstore and the temple by myself. Which is an odd mix, right? 本屋とお寺に行きました。I went to the bookstore and the temple. 一人で by myself. Takeshi, what the hell? Yeah, I know, right? Big same. Dude, if I were Mary-san's like host Oto-san, I'd be like, yo, Takeshi, bet you get your ass over here. Like, we gonna talk. Yeah, I know. Oto-san. 人がたくさんいましたか? Doesn't press the issue of why Takashi stood her up, but were there a lot of people? He asks, getting in yet another grammar point. 人がたくさんいましたか? Were there a lot of people? And it's not 人を, it's 人が. And why is it 人が? Because it takes the form いますしたか? Were there, and people are sentient, right? 人がたくさんいましたか? Were there a lot of people? はい。お寺で、違う。お寺で写真、お寺で写真をたくさん撮りました。I took a lot of pictures of the temple. デパートにも行きました。I went to the department store too. デパートにも行きました。はい。お土産です。Okay, so this はい is not yes. It's はい。はい。It's like a presentation はい。はい。お土産です。I went to this place and so therefore here's お土産. I know you're upset, Mary, but this is the perfect time to test your grammar, says her dad. Yeah, exactly. Oto-san's like, let's not focus on simple boy problems. We gotta learn some Japanese. And also, where's my freaking omiyage? Hi, omiyage desu. Arigatou. Arigatou, says Oto-san. The next day at the school, Mary says, Takeshi-san, 昨日来ませんでしたね. Okay, I said it last week in last week's stream, right? But they're in Tokyo, right? They're in Tokyo, and they freaking made a date plan in Kyoto, which is 2.5 hours one way by bullet train, right? To see a freaking movie, right? And you know, maybe visit a temple or whatever. And next day, casually at school, Mary's like, "Oh, hey Takeshi, so you didn't end up coming yesterday, 2.5 hours away by bullet train to Kyoto, did you?" Takeshi-san, 昨日来ませんでしたね. Like you didn't come, huh? But Takeshi, oh my god, he didn't turn up. She went all the way exactly, right? And the bullet train costs like $130 one way, which is probably like, I don't know, like 105 pounds or 110 quid. I don't know. And your monies, John. It's insane. Bollocks, really. I don't say bollocks. I was just memeing talking to John. Okay. Takeshi says though, 行きましたよ. 行きましたよ. I freaking went. I went. モスバーガーの前で1時間待ちました。モスバーガーの前で1時間待ちました。I waited in front of Moss Burger for 1 hour. About 100, yeah. Yeah. My currency converter is always working. I went. 行きましたよ。モスバーガーの前で1時間を待ちました。Core blimey, gunrod, that's core blimey, governor, that's a lot of fish and chips, mate. Oh god, kill me. I still don't know what core means. Like, I hear, like, go on, like, core blimey. Anyway, モスバーガーじゃないですよ。モスバーガーじゃないですよ。Why not Moss Burger? マクドナルドですよ。マクドナルドですよ。McDonald's. We were supposed to meet up not at Moss Burger, but at McDonald's. マクドナルド、ごめんなさい. That was super hammy. Don't say it like that. But マクドナルド、ごめんなさい. I'm so sorry. So, excuse me, where's McDonald's? The department store. You see that there's a department store over there, huh? McDonald's is in front of the department store. Thank you. That was the first dialogue. Now back with their father. I'm home. Welcome home. How was the movie? I didn't see it. Takeshi didn't come. Oh, why? I don't know. So I went to a bookstore in Temple in Lone. Were there a lot of people? Yes, I took many pictures at the temple. I also went to the department store. Here's a souvenir for you. Thank you. It feels like an AI wrote this. Like, this is just the most random dialogue, but at our level, you know, we're jinchoni, we're gonna progress slowly but surely, steadily. Core blimey is old slang for like, wow, I have no idea what it means exactly. Okay, good to know. I'm learning some of my colonizer English. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, Jesus wept. Okay. Oh, Takeshi, you didn't come yesterday, did you? I went there. I waited for 1 hour in front of the Moss Burger. Not Moss Burger, McDonald's. Oh, McDonald's. I'm sorry. Like, this makes zero sense, right? If we hear it in English. Like, it's supposed to be giving the context like they were supposed to meet up at McDonald's, not Moss Burger. But Moss Burger is actually the real name of a restaurant, too. Restaurant's a strong word. It's like a Japanese McDonald's. It's pretty good. But yeah. So, that was the promising first date, probably foreshadowing what will happen in chapter 23 in the future. Tadaima, okaeri, muballs. Takashi making excuses. He was seeing Mary too. That's right. Ikimashita yo to see Mary 2. He actually met up with Mary 2 at Mossberger and stood up Mary 1 at McDonald's. Jeez Louise. Also, look at these drawings, right? Actually, this is kind of cool because, like, you have, like, Japanese-looking people here, and then you have, like, Western-looking people, like foreigners, like tourists probably. I don't know what the hell is happening with this person's face, but, you know. I wish I could read that. But yeah. So, we covered a lot today. We covered the first date and the fiasco that was Takeshi standing up Mary. Hella vocab. We learned a whole bunch of location words, right? Migi, hidari, mae, ushiro, naka, ie, ue, shita, so on and so forth. Rich world building. Dude, this is like the most slow progression. This is better written than Twilight. Like, I know that meme is long dead, but the build up for this Mary and Takeshi is better than the build up for Twilight. So we learned past tense of verbs. So now by now we should know hiragana, katakana, uverbs, ruverbs in the regular suru and kuru, and present tense and past tense of des and the verbs, and location words, and particles mo, wa, de, o. Slight introduction to particle ga with arimasu, imasu. Ni, particle ni. We've got and time duration using kan, ichijikan, something jikan as duration. Taksan to quantify. Particle to as well to link two nouns, similar nouns. We learned there's hella Japanese holidays that we wish we had in the West. And by holidays, I don't mean like holidays by names. Like they have these days off of school and work, and they're paid days, and like it's incredible. So actually, funnily enough, I was considering working in Japan, right? Whether it be an English teacher, you know, using one of my degrees, God knows. But I was like, why is the average salary so low? But it's because they have so many. Well, I can't say it's only reason, but they have so many days off in the year compared to the West that it's like incredible. So you have to like almost think about it as like you may not get as much PTO or vacation days that you can take, but there's so many more literally paid time off because they're national holidays like Golden Week and stuff. It's incredible. That's a whole month that you don't get paid there too. Oh really? I didn't know that. Lots of pair work, and I wish we went over it, but we'll have ample practice in Genki Workbook Chapter 4. There's a whole month you don't get paid too. Interesting. I'll look into that, John. Good that you brought it up. And next chapter, we'll look at a trip to Okinawa, which is Okinawa Ryoko. Ryoko means travel, and Okinawa, this is the kanji. More you know. I did not know this kanji. John probably knew this kanji. Trip to Okinawa, and we have what? More. Oh, hey. Next week is adjectives. We're gonna freaking learn some adjectives, which is gonna be intense. There's na adjectives and e adjectives, and then ski kirai. We can learn how to say like or dislike. Masho, mashoka, offering to do something. Counting. Oh God, counting. But yeah, look forward to that. So, yeah. I forgot when. Long school holiday though. Lots of teachers find work in summer schools and stuff in that time. Oh, okay, yeah. So as a school teacher, it's like their summer break, right? And I think term starts in March. March is when term ends, and like I don't know, but summer break for students is a lot shorter in Japan than it is in the U.S. I don't know what it is like in Britain or anything. So, but yeah, teachers have it tough. That's true. That's true. They don't get paid for summer break. Very true. Good point. But I'm just saying, like, not necessarily teaching, but like, as a salary man, you still get paid during like Golden Week and like Children's Day and all of that jazz. Freaking tree day. No, that's our greenery day is the word they say in Japanese, right? That we learned today. So it's a big one. But yeah, so yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thank you again, Yo-Yo, for critiquing and helping. Um, proper salary for the win. Yeah, no, for sure. But also salary in Japan, like the freaking zangyo overtime culture, overtime work. And I guess the West we have it a lot too. Like they just if you're salaried, you get asked to put in like lots of overtime or like maybe not as much as Japan, but like, you're responsible for that work and you're not hourly, so pros and cons, right? Not that I would know, but you know. But yeah, guys, it was lovely chatting with you guys. John's corrupting me with his British streams. And just as a disclaimer again, I'm not a Japanese native speaker. I will make mistakes and I will own them because we're all learning together. And it might be more of a review for me than for, the people watching this, but it's still a review and I can still make mistakes. So, oyasumi nasai. Haha, I get it because you're British. It's nighttime for you, and my name is Lion Guy Sai. It's beautiful. Beautiful amalgamation. I love it. But yeah, 今日はこれで終わります。